now let's talk a little bit more about the employment of labor and how that relates to the overall number of people in an economy. Now, you may remember that a fraction of the population is what we call the working age population. We call it working age, or WAP, working age population. That is defined differently in different countries, but it typically comprises individuals who are above the age of, let's say, 15 or 16, all the way up to some retirement age, which is typically somewhere around 55 or 60 years of age. Now, of the working age population, not everybody participates in the labor market. Some choose to perform work in the home, go to school, or otherwise refrain from market activity. The remaining fraction of workers, those of working age who do participate as a fraction of the total working age population, that's known as the labor force participation rate. These are the people, when we take labor force participation rate times the working age population, we get the labor force. This is the actual number of people that are actually in the market, potentially contributing their labor in exchange for some kinds of compensation. It's important to note that not everyone who is actively participating in the labor market is, in fact, employed. The idea here is that just because you're participating in the labor force doesn't mean that you're actively working. You may be looking for a job. You may have gotten some job offers, but you may have turned them down because you're expecting something better to come along. So it turns out that our employment, L, the number of workers employed, is equal to the labor force multiplied times the employment rate. There are a number of factors that will determine the employment rate as well as the labor force participation rate, and we'll be discussing them. But just briefly, it should not surprise you that the employment rate varies over the business cycle. During expansions, the employment rate tends to go up. More people tend to accept the job, perhaps at a higher wage. And in the other direction, during economic downturns, the employment rate tends to drop. It shouldn't be surprising that we see more people looking for work than those who are in fact receiving offers of employment during recessions. And this may be reflected in downward pressure on wages.